Hello, I'm Toycat and welcome back to the second channel video. One of the things I've always hated about living in the United Kingdom is we get made fun of constantly for requiring a TV license. You do need a license to watch TV in the UK, and if you don't have one, TV license evasion is a very serious issue. You will get seriously fined or sent to prison for not having one, and it's funny because people make fun of us for this and it sounds bad, but the reality is arguably worse. It effectively works like a BBC tax. You pay money every year to the BBC if you have a TV that you watch any broadcast content on, even if it's specifically only their competitors. It is a forced payment for a service that benefits us all and is arguably just like a separate form of tax, I guess you could say. And so when I heard someone complaining about not paying their TV license and being prosecuted, I knew immediately they lived somewhere in the UK until I realized they were actually in Ireland. And after looking into it, Ireland does in fact have a TV license system as well, and theirs is even worse than the UK, but we'll come back to that later because it kind of tied into this map channel when I found this fascinating map that opened my mind as to how crazy Europe actually is. This isn't a UK specific concept because Ireland has one, as well as the decent majority of European countries. You can see Norway, Sweden, and Denmark all have just a television license funding system, whereas it's actually very rare for a country not to have any form of TV license. Red, blue, and yellow are all TV licenses of some form, and so the only countries without one are effectively the light green ones, but even then they have government grants in there, which is a similar thing. So Belgium, Netherlands, Luxembourg, Portugal, Spain, Russia, Estonia, Latvia, the Baltics, and Finland, they are all countries where you do not require TV licenses, but the majority of other European nations do require you to have a TV license, which is mad to actually think about. If you want to watch TV, you need to have a license in the majority of European countries. And we'll come back to not Europe later, but for now I just want to talk about the fact that, this actually does vary a lot by country. You might assume because Europe is a continent that is slowly integrating together, just like how VAT works, there must be some standards across the continent and how this is applied, but as you can tell from this map, one, no, but two, it's even weirder than you think. So in the United Kingdom, you need a TV license to watch or record TV on any channel via any TV service, or if you watch live TV on any streaming service, whatever that is, even if it's one of the BBC's competitors, or if you watch any BBC shows. So if you watch BBC shows, I think everyone says it's fair, like it's basically a subscription fee, and I think if you're watching BBC content without paying for the BBC, a lot of people disagree with that. But in the UK, it's fairly common, especially amongst young people. I would say a lot of people who I am very familiar with play a lot of games, watch a lot of Netflix or YouTube, and so don't really need to watch live TV content, because why would you want to pay £159 a year for that? That is the price, by the way. The answer is you probably wouldn't want to, and so, by the way, you can also pay £53.50 for black and white. I thought this was funny. I had to look into this. Apparently, there are still thousands of people who watch the BBC in black and white, and so pay a reduced fee, massively reduced fee. I have to wonder, legally speaking, if they watch Netflix, do they have to watch it in black and white? Or if they watch a YouTube live stream, for example, would they have to turn their TV on black and white, or they're going to get in trouble for evading the TV license? Although, I guess how many people with black and white TVs are going to have problems with that? But anyway, it's funny to me that this is a thing, but it's also funny that, yeah, you need to have a TV license, you need to fund the BBC, even if you specifically only watch their competitors, who must be advertiser funded. The reason that this map says that the UK is television license and advertising is because one of our big broadcasters is TV license exclusive. If you ever watch the BBC in the UK, there are no ads, and it's pretty high quality content, which is why some people are in favor of the system. But then there are channels which are entirely advertiser funded, but you have to pay the TV license to watch them too. Very interesting system. But in Ireland, it's a way weirder system. I had to look into this because, again, someone was really concerned about not paying it. And I assumed, like in the UK, where even though most of the people I know just don't need a TV license and don't pay for one, a lot of people don't, probably do need a TV license, but just don't pay for one, because how is anyone going to prove that you're watching live content? So in Ireland, they get around that by saying the way a TV license works is if you have a TV, you must have a TV license, which is wild. So it's 160 euros a year. That is slightly less than 159 pounds because of the exchange rate, but it's a, it's a similar fee, but you have to pay it for homes or businesses unless you're over 70, and that is kind of crazy. If you have a smart TV, even if you want to use it for streaming, you have to use it because the TV is capable of receiving TV signals. That is the actual standard they apply, is if your TV theoretically could receive signals signals, you've got to do it. Do you live in rented accommodation? If you're renting and there is a TV, you must have a TV license. That is whether you or the landlord owns the TV. If the landlord owns a TV and puts it in your place, you are liable for 160 euros a year to pay for, I believe their public broadcaster is RTE. That is crazy to me. So yeah, one of the other fun things is, yeah, and across all of Europe, if you have a license from overseas, you cannot transfer it. A TV license is specific to that one country and effectively says, yeah, if you're going to live in our country, you're going to pay for information that benefits that various place. And I think that's a very interesting thing. But after looking into Germany, so this is from Germany, but in English, so it's not the perfect rules they would say, but the license fee is a legally prescribed contribution for citizens there, companies and institutions, as well as public interest bodies. For private households, the current fee is 18.36 euros per month. I haven't done the maths precisely, but I'm pretty sure 18.36 is even more than 160. In fact, I mean, it's over 200. Without doing the maths on the spot, it's a lot more. And the way it works in Germany is even worse. So in the UK, it's if you watch anything live, if you theoretically are watching any TV or TV substitute, wow, pay us the license fee. In Ireland, the way it works is, yeah, if you have a TV that theoretically could watch anything, then yeah, you gotta pay the license fee. Doesn't matter about anything. Also, wait, dog licenses and ownerships? If you're a dog owner, you must have a dog license in Ireland? That can't be a real thing. You need a dog license in Ireland if you're... Sorry, okay. This video is staying on track because I'm very good at doing that here on this channel. So in Germany, the way it works is it's not just if you have a TV or if you watch live things. It's if you live in any dwelling. If you're over 18 years old, one dwelling, one fee. If several persons live together in one dwelling, one person pays the fee, regardless how many persons live in it or how many devices they use, which is wild. Also, so yeah, the fees are paid directly to the public broadcast service. In the UK and I believe in Ireland, you would pay indirectly to the government who just immediately forward it. In Germany, it goes immediately to the public broadcasting service, and that is pretty crazy, right? There is a additional tax, effectively, that the government says, yeah, make sure you pay that, and if you don't do it, the way it actually works is every single time a citizen moves into a dwelling, the residence registration office lets the contribution service know of this. The latter writes to the person concerned to clarify the contribution, and there's a register, and they match it, and if it turns out there's no TV license for a household, they come round and they say, oi mate, don't have your TV license, don't care if you don't have any TVs, you've still got to pay for the service. And in a way, it's interesting because these three systems are effectively different versions of the same idea, trying to make as many people as possible pay. The UK says, yeah, if you have any form of TV you watch, you benefit from the BBC's influence. Ireland says if you have a TV that could watch TV, you benefit from the the public broadcasting service information. And if you in Germany, well, if you live in a house, you benefit from society. So pay your taxes, damn it, and not pay your taxes, pay your contribution fee to public broadcast services that will be enforced by the government. Damn it. It's interesting. Again, I think, so a lot of people would say, imagine if Netflix could legally just say, you are subscribed to us now, there is no unsubscribe button, and the government will be enforcing it. That is effectively how these services work, but in the national interest, you might say. So, yeah, these three systems are the most similar that I could find together, but after that, it gets really wild, because Norway has not just a very expensive TV license, so I looked into this, and according to Google, the TV license in 2012, 10 years of inflation before, just now, was more expensive than the UK. So already the Norwegian TV license was crazy, but then they decided to make it so that they also get a sliver of your income tax as well. And so, yeah, the current TV license costs 3,000, that's Norwegian crowns, so 3,000 per household now. I'll convert it to US dollars just for a more universal figure. $291 a year. You have to pay that to the public broadcaster, but then it's way more fun because now if you're over the age of 18, you pay income tax, you pay 100 crowns, so I would imagine that's about $10. I mean, it's pretty easy to say that's about $10. You pay about $10 a year extra for your first 15,000 of income, and then you start progressively paying more and more and more based on your income. They have made the TV license progressive. I mean, they haven't lowered it. They've just made sure that more money goes to the Norwegian broadcast service, which is, some might argue, a good thing, because now there's more Sami content, for the native people, cultural content, children's content, all the things that people would say you wouldn't produce otherwise. There is a really big debate around the TV license and about whether it produces more things that wouldn't be produced commercially and whether that is like a nationally good thing. But yeah, Norway is the craziest example of a TV license I could find where they say, yeah, we fund all of our services through the TV license, so we want it sky high. And incomes are higher in Norway, but still, it is a big, big sore for every household I can imagine. But the way it works in Italy is interesting because they've decided that first of all, previously they used to pay for it via their electricity bills, and it used to be 90 euros a year. This is a bad way. So again, it's just to come back to this. This is a bad way of funding a government service, I would argue, but it's sort of opt-in, opt-out, so it's more like a private company. This is a bit more like this is, in theory, you can opt out, but in practice, almost no one would. And it's impossible to opt out, and it's a similar thing to the Norwegian system. The way it works in Italy is the only way you opt out is by taking electricity away from your house, which is bad in my opinion, but also it means that all non-electricity costs are therefore, so electricity costs are basically subsidizing the TV, and therefore non-electricity. I think government should not put policy costs in electricity. Electricity should be as cheap as possible, not as expensive as possible. And so Italy lowered their public broadcasting service funding by 20%. Obviously, this only happened in October of last year. How that affects the Italian state would be very interesting to see. In theory, if all of this government broadcasting is so necessary, a cut of 20% will see Italians' cultural output get massively, destroyed, decimated twice over. But if it works just fine, it probably turns out that actually government broadcasting is a good idea, but could probably be a bit leaner, right? And so one of the other interesting systems is in France, they abolished the license fee. It's they said they'd abolish it in 2014. They started abolishing it in 2018, but it was actually 2022 where they said, yeah, no longer is there a TV license. That's a ridiculous idea, because one of the things that I think all of these systems start to do, because they've actually switched it towards, just to be clear here. So it used to be 138 euros, one of the lowest in metropolitan France, and 88 euros in overseas France, which is funny because therefore if you live in French Guiana, you had to pay 88 euros a year so that you could get French TV out there. Funny in my opinion. But anyway, the interesting thing about the idea of what they've done is they've decided to make it part of VAT. So now the way it works is when you have a certain amount of value-added tax, so here it is. This levy, which was worth 3.7 billion to the state, is offset by a transfer of a fraction of VAT revenue till the end of 2024. What happens at 2024 is obviously up to the French government, and they'll do whatever wacky thing they do over there. Do you think they have dog licenses? And there's no English version of their site, so I can't look it up. Let's try anyway. Let's type in dog license. Do you think you need one in France? I don't think you do. Is France a freer country than Ireland? Anyway, this is staying on point. So one of the problems with the TV license as a concept is, even though it's good in theory, and it's, again, if you really, really, really love the concept, having it as a license that is flat per household is effectively having a flat tax on the country, which is great. But even proponents of flat taxes usually mean as a percentage, and also it starts to hide the true cost of how taxes work. Even when you look at a map of taxes in Europe per country, you immediately start to realize that actually this isn't accurate. In Germany, for example, you don't just pay your income tax, you pay a reunification surcharge to bring the two halves of the country together, and then if you're part of any religion, you pay a guaranteed amount of money to that. If you're Islamic, you have to pay a certain amount of money to the German Islam sect. If you're Christian, you pay it to that. You have to pay money by force from your income to a religion. It's not a tax per se, because non-religious people don't pay it. In theory, in the UK, you don't have to pay a license fee if you just don't watch broadcast content, or if you're in Ireland, if you don't have a TV. But these are taxes. They are real costs from the public that are being, hoovered up by the government. And that means that it's kind of misleading the public about how much they spend on taxes, which might be really good if you want to raise taxes and you think people don't know that. Or you think people would be anti-raising taxes if they knew how much they already were paying. But I think transparency is needed on all these fronts. I think people should know exactly how much they're spending on things that they are required to spend on. Because if we don't have basic transparency from the government about finances, how are we meant to have it as individuals? Ultimately, looking at the rest of the world, almost every country on the planet has some form of public service broadcaster. But most of these public service broadcasters aren't funded entirely by either the government or by forcible, again, sort of semi-taxation, and yet many of these countries have effective public service. Advertising can be an effective way to pay for things, as I'm sure the explosion of YouTube has proven, and so is it necessarily required for these, again, this small collection of European countries to have TV licenses? Well, that's a question that ends up in the political realm, so instead of saying anything that's too crazy and out there, I'll say, did you know only these countries had color television in the 1970s? And I'll also say that being transparent about things is important, which is why I'm transparent about the fact. This would be a great segue to an air fryer sponsorship. But instead I'll say I'm transparent about the fact that yes, on this channel I make money from the adverts you watch before it. You effectively pay 0.1 cents of your time worth. It really is something close to that. You effectively pay a tiny fraction of a penny for your view here today. And also I say, yeah, but if you really like it, did you know you can go to Patreon and just give me more money that I can use to make more low quality videos like this and then spend all the money on kebabs? Patreon.com/toycat is a place you can go. I leave the amount there visible so people can actually see it and make their own judgments based on that. But also, I have some real perks and real exclusives there if you want them. But ultimately, yeah, the lazy second channel videos where we talk over maps are still here to stay. But also, I am going to be working on a brand new format. It's coming fairly soon. It's one of these big explainers of like how countries work, because there's so many questions about the very functioning of countries and how they're all so different to each other, which I just figured could be worth addressing in a little bit of a higher quality style. So I hope you're looking forward to that. And if you're not, don't worry. We're here to stay, talking in front of a camera and vaguely saying thank you for watching, but second channel, don't care. Goodbye.